Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Trauma Pond HQ. My name's Olivia and this is where we sit by the pond and we have a little chat. And today I'm going to be helping as many of you as I possibly can because my For You page has been flooded with a whole bunch of bad practices, and I thought I would share little tiny bits of information so that you can use that going forward. Just recently I have been bedridden for an entire week because of an injury that has involved damaging my entire right side. So over the course of the last week, I've seen a chiropractor twice, a physio, and the doctor as well.
They called me Mr. Glass.
And I thought I would share with you exactly what it means to be able to go to certain people and how to trust them. These are just two things that I have as a general rule of thumb as to whether or not I know if I can trust this particular professional. I've said this many times before about people who work within certain industries. Your title does not equal entitlement. When it comes to doctors, I really do not care how you got your doctorate. I know how you got your doctorate, but it doesn't mean that you are worthy of having it. Yeah, I'm a bit savage about it, but a lot of people think that doctors are reliable people because they are supposed to be around to help us. People think that doctors are reliable people because they have worked very hard to get to where they are. They are reliable people so that we trust them with our health. But how many people end up turning around and saying, the doctor didn't care? What I am going to say is actually something that got me shadow banned on Instagram. And I am still shadow banned to this day. And it's been 6 months. But these are all just little things that you can use so that you can, one, protect yourself, and two, see what's coming. So the first one that you want to ask before you spend any money, when you make the appointment over the phone, ask the assistant, does that professional train? What kind of physical exercise do they do? And how often do they do it? This goes across the board for anyone in any health profession. Psychologists are also included in this. So a chiro, a physio, a doctor, surgeon, any of them. What kind of physical exercise does this practitioner do? You can just say, I'd just like to inquire to know what it is that this person does to look after their own health. Because if they don't practice, they don't know. I'm a person who has been very heavily involved with the fitness industry, and I will not let a chiro, a physio, or a remedial massage therapist touch me unless I know that they train. You're probably going to think that this is very harsh and judgmental, but it's a surefire thing to make sure that you know that you're getting someone who knows what they're doing, especially if it's a chiro or a physio or massage therapist. You also want to make sure that a doctor's doing it as well. Now, like I said, you also have to ask how often do they do this? And it has to be more than 3 or 4 times a week.
That's too much, man.
This sounds like grilling, but if you're going to hand over money to someone who doesn't know how to move their body, I wouldn't expect you to pay. I would not expect any future clients to come with me if I didn't practice physical training or anything like that, or have any experience with therapy in any way, shape, or form. And I welcome all questions. If they get a little uppity about the fact that you're asking questions, that's a little bit of a red flag.
Make it stop!
It probably means that they do have something to hide. The reason why you want to know this is because people who are in the field of health or physical exercise, they need to be able to put it into practice. If they're practicing it themselves through physical forms of exercise, then they know exactly what muscle groups or what illnesses or anything that it is that's holding them back from experience, they know how to fix it.
Deep breath in and...
Chiropractors tend to only spend 10 to 15 minutes with you. So you need to know that that person is going to be good. But the best way you can figure that out is by asking how much physical exercise they do and how often.
Don't cheapen this.
Second thing, ask them when they started practicing. Now, as judgmental and trivial as that sounds, if they say that they started straight out of high school, went to university, and then opened their practice, it doesn't generally mean that they have a passion for it. They're just after the money. Don't get me wrong, everybody wants to chase money. But are they more focused on money or getting you better? And I actually think that's even more important if you are seeing a psychologist. I have said this before in a couple of other episodes, but I genuinely don't think anyone should start studying psychology until they're at least 25 years old. Again, yes, that sounds very judgmental, but there's a couple of reasons why. If they started studying psychology at the age of 18, that means that they didn't actually know what they wanted to do. And they know this as well. It's a respected profession and it's easy to get into. Graduating is a lot harder. Don't get me wrong, about 80% of people don't actually make it to graduation. That's in Australia. I don't know what it's like in other countries. Generally, a lot of people who start studying psychology will drop out within the first 2 years because it's not not what they thought it was going to be. But just like all those other professions, you don't actually have to enjoy the topic. You just have to be driven enough to want to get to the end goal, which a lot of them, they actually want to get that title because that particular title is dripping in respect. Another reason why you don't want a psychologist who started pretty young, not just because their prefrontal cortex wasn't fully developed when they started studying. They don't have a lot of life experience. I'm not saying all of them had not had some sort of reason to want to go into psychology. I started studying psychology at 34, and I had a lot of life experience that made me want to do that. I have plenty of traumas that I'm trying to sieve through and learn more about what happens with other people so that I can help them. And that's the core reason as to why people should want to do what they do. It's not about the title, it's not about the money, it should be about helping people, if that's what you really want to do. I do personal training outside of here, and my idea is that the more I teach people, the less they need me. So let's have a little look at the things that were put on TikTok that made me cringe and say I need to make a video about this. Hey guys, if you're enjoying the episodes of Trauma.HQ, do a little favor for me and hit that like button for this video, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell so that you don't miss another episode. All right, back to the rest of it. Okay.
I got a physical yesterday and my doctor did something really fucked up and I need to know if this has happened to anybody else. I'll start by saying that I am terrified of getting my blood drawn. My husband tells him and I tell him that I have severe anxiety when it comes to drawing my blood. I ask him to use a butterfly needle. I say that I do better with those. And he says, you don't want that. And I said, why? That's what I always have when I have blood work done. And he said, it will take 3 times as long. And I told him that I know what makes me comfortable and I'm okay with however long it takes, but the butterfly needle is what I'm comfortable with. He says no, and I just try to be a complicit patient, and he says lie down. And I go to lie down and I'm like, no, I can't do this. At this point, he doesn't say a word. He scoops up everything and he throws it in the trash and he walks to the other side of the room. And I'm looking at my husband like, what is going on? Am I in trouble? So he throws everything away and he ends up saying, this is why I don't do blood work on people like you. You can go to the hospital and they can deal with it. You're gonna cause a huge scene and it won't be good for anyone. This guy also doesn't have a nurse. And I think that must be a major red flag. Then he storms out of the room, slams the door, and doesn't say bye.
I'm not in the medical profession, but I'm gonna say no, that's not okay. I don't know if it is actually a doctor's job to make you comfortable, but it's good practice to make your patients comfortable, otherwise they won't come back. I mean, yeah, we could all look at House.
This of yours really is an attractive quality. Thank you. It was either that or get my hair highlighted.
He's a bit of a jerk, but he is a critical thinker, then that makes him much better at what he does. Does it make him a good doctor? I don't think there is such a thing as a good doctor, to be honest. Especially GPs. Just a little FYI about people that are in the medical profession. More specifically, doctors. They're generally narcissistic. I've had to speak about this a couple of times on TikTok and Instagram, but the reason why narcissistic people end up going into the medical profession, more specifically to be doctors, is because it feeds the ego so much. So what do you do for a living? I'm a doctor. A doctor! That's pretty much how it goes. It's easy money and it strokes their ego. What more can you want? The fact that that doctor doesn't have a nurse speaks volumes. Yes, it is a red flag. I don't know what this is like in the States, but I've never had a doctor do my bloods. So I don't know why a doctor would be doing it. They have more pressing things to do. Anyway, let's look at another one.
Oh my God, I've never felt more humiliated. There was this spent 11 minutes getting fat shamed by a doctor. I go in for a breast reduction consultation and he tells me you can't lose weight. Thanks, I've been trying. It's great. Thank you. Thank you for your advice on that. And then he just keeps going on and saying it's what you're eating. Obviously, if you were dieting, you'd be losing weight. Thanks. Yeah, it's fantastic.
This is another thing that I have a massive issue when it comes to doctors, is that they constantly think that just dieting is going to solve everybody's problems. But the thing is, people are so uneducated about how to diet, what foods to have, what works with their bodies, what works with their fitness. Doctors have zero idea of how to help people lose weight other than under surgery or medication. And that's it. That's all they can do. There was a study that was done between dietitians and psychologists to help people lose weight. Guess who had a much higher success rate? The psychologists. Dietitians can't even help. Funny story though, when I was studying nutrition back in the day, the woman that was teaching us about calorie counting and obesity was morbidly obese herself. And ironically, she was drinking regular Coke and 2 Mars bars in that class. Now, I'm not fat shaming, it is a horrible thing. And generally, when I work with a lot of people who are morbidly obese or overweight or they're struggling to lose weight, it's because they have no idea where they're going wrong. Everyone thinks, okay, you just have to start exercising and diet. Yeah, but how do you do that? It's so easy to say that's all it needs. But what, is a salad going to do it? No, it's not. It's about educating yourself on what the foods are that you're putting in. There are so few foods in a supermarket that you can actually trust. But will a doctor ever tell you that? No. Does a doctor know how to read labels? I guarantee they don't. Most people, even with a diploma in nutrition, have no idea how to read food labels. What makes you think that people are going to know what to do? Humans don't know how to cook food anymore because we've been so domesticated by big food. How on earth are people ever going to know how to lose weight?
I just got back from the physio, right, because I got a dodgy knee, and he was like, oh, how did you get the dodgy knee? And I was like, oh, I was doing a squat. And he was like, right, what I'm going to get you to do is do loads of body weight squats. And I was like, whoa. I injured myself doing a squat. And he was like, yeah, but what I need to get you to do is build the strength in the squat. And I was like, I know, that's why I'm here. Tell me what I need to do. And he was like, squats. And I was like, I don't want to do any more squats. That's how I got injured. And he's like, I just need you to do a few more squats. I was like, well, I'm going to injure myself again. I'm going to be back next week.
Yeah, this is why I say that if you have to see a physio, ask what kind of physical exercise the physio does and how often they do it and to what level they're at. If a person came in and said that they have an injured knee, I'd be doing a full assessment of their movement, seeing where the pain point is and doing particular warm-up exercises, particularly with bands, and just do some resistant exercises and show them how to develop strength in core, glutes and quads in isolation.
You know, and I'm not judging you, but I'm just saying everybody else is gonna.
Would I trust a physio that looks like him? Yeah. Because he clearly looks after himself. He clearly exercises and he does a lot of weight training. Physios know that weight training is the right form to help protect and strengthen us as we develop in age, especially when it comes to bone density and muscle mass. Would I trust a physio who just does cardio, like just does running? I mean, sorry, but I need to know what you're going to do with my shoulders. I need to know what you're going to do with my lumbar. I need to know what you're going to do with my pecs, chest, neck, everything. CrossFitters, bodybuilders, powerlifters, strongmen, they're the type of people that I would definitely trust. Maybe even those that have done fighting as well. Oh, and tennis. Anything that uses your entire body. The more strain that they put on their body, the more likely that you can trust them.
Put a finger down, bad therapist edition. Put a finger down if you ever went to meet with a new therapist and you were surprised to find that the therapy office was in an open space in their house, but you went about it anyway, and then you heard someone walking around in the house and flushing the toilet, so you asked who else was there listening to your private conversation, to which you responded, are you hearing things? So you sidestep that conversation and you start talking about your family, and she says, your mom was probably stupid. To which you respond, what are you talking about? You don't know my mom. Don't talk about my mom that way. So you sidestep that conversation, and she starts telling you all the private details of your best friend's therapy sessions with her, which is a HIPAA violation. So you realize that you're sitting across from what is probably the worst therapist in the world, and she says this: if you see any negative reviews about me on Google, it's probably from all of the borderline patients. So you leave and you never come back.
Whoa! A lot of people tend to go down the track of wanting to make bad reviews quicker than making good reviews. But how many bad reviews are there? I've said this before, I've been exceptionally lucky with the therapists that I have been introduced to, just by sheer luck, it sounds like, because the therapist that I have heard of through other people has made my jaw drop the exact same way. We even learn about a couple of these things in psychology, people who have had their licenses removed because of bad practice and what has caused them to get this. And they were all true stories. Shaming people for being unemployed, shaming people for being abused, shaming people for wearing what they're wearing. Shaming people for being attractive. It's a really unfortunate thing that we are struggling to find good people within certain practices because there are bad people within these practices as well. But hopefully what I've told you today is enough information that you can use so that you can go and get the proper advice and proper practice so that you don't end up with these things. It's pretty bad. All right, guys, thank you so much for staying for another episode of Trauma.HQ. I hope that you learned something. If you have had any negative experiences, please leave a comment below. I would love to learn exactly what you have gone through because I feel like it needs to be more widespread. Because I don't know about you, but I'm definitely done with it. All right, guys, hopefully you've learned something from this episode of Trauma.HQ. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below. Tell me whatever you want. It's not going to affect me. I'm already traumatized. All right, guys, I will see you next time for another episode of Trauma.HQ. Mwah.